Everyone, it's Renee Barabo, the Practical Shaman, welcoming you to our next presentation on YouTube. And it's part of the IAM Winter Solstice Fire Tenders Gathering. And I don't know if you've read the blog over on Medium or any of the information that I've been sharing about this number one, 111. One day, 111 people registered. Another day, we were at 1,011 people attending this. And now I haven't checked because we're way up, double that almost. And and so yesterday I checked the clock on my way to do an errand, and the time was 1:11. So in my thinking, I'm thinking, oh, new beginnings. This is going, we forget that when the east wind blows with a new beginning, Eurus, it can take out and devastate the whole landscape. New beginnings don't always come with happy, skippy, smiley faces. Sometimes it's a little tricky. And I was just laughing with our next guest, Marsha Scarbrough, that I said, who are we talking about today? And she says, Eshu. And I'm there, Eshu. She goes, yeah, the trickster. And I was like, if you had seen me last night at the fire with what I was calling Heyoka medicine, and please excuse me if you think I'm taking names or not, but the winds assure me that this information was here at the beginning of time, and then the winds moved it around. If you haven't read my book, Winds of Spirit, you might want to pick up a copy because it talks about that, about how wind was here first. Then religions appropriated the wind. They called it Holy Spirit. They called it Ruach. They called it Nirvana. Om is a wind. And so the winds are having their way with me. This 1111 was about a new guide, a new way of transmitting this conference, because we're now live on YouTube instead of, we're also sharing it in the Wind Clan, but, we thought we were going there, but the winds are saying, no, now's the time. The message needs to be out further. Stop holding it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop holding it. And I'm going to trust in the winds and trust in these wonderful presenters who have come here to share their magical information with you. And of course, now I can't find I had a whole description. Oh, here we are, of Marsha Scarbrough. Is that, I say that right? Scarbrough.
Scarbrough
Is the author of Honey in the River, Shadow, Sex, and West African Spirituality. She's a freelance journalist who has had over 100 articles published in a national magazine. Now, hold on to your wind whistle, which I'm going to play. If you don't have a wind whistle, these are like great self-soothing when they bring you back home into your body. But last year, her presentation was one of my favorites of the whole entire symposium. So I'm sure she's going to delight us again. And if you've bought the collection, which by the way goes up today, so you want to get it, I included your Oya pieces from last year because they truly were one of my favorites. And Oya is the Yoruba. She transforms, but she's the wind goddess. So let's get centered, and then I'll give it over to Marsha. But let's take a few wind breaths to get us here today. We know that sound. And take it over.
Well, thank you, Renee, for the introduction. And I'm so honored to be here today and to be invited back. And I want to give a special shout out to the fire keepers because what you're doing is really important. And one of the most powerful aspects of shamanism is when we have ceremonies that are a collective, a group of people moving energy together in the same direction with intention. That's what this is. And that is the most powerful work of all, that we all have the same positive intention. We're all moving our energy in that direction together, and the power is exponential then. So I'm going to talk about some of the adventures in my life. I have studied with both Native American teachers and West African shaman, a Babalawo, from the Yoruba tradition of West Africa that's called Ifa. And both teachers use the healing modality of drumming, dancing, and chanting. Why? Because, as we know from quantum physics, we are all made of vibration. My Native American teacher would say, we are composed as music is composed. We know we're just little electronic molecules vibrating at different rates, different speeds, more or less dense. So when that vibration falls out of sync and out of harmony, we have disease. So the ancient, very effective low technologies use other sacred vibrations to realign our vibration to bring us back into harmony and health. So those vibrations are usually repetitive so that they put us into a trance. And they can be drumming, they can be repetitive movement, as in dancing, they can be chanting. So one of the differences between the Native American tradition that I studied and the Yoruba tradition is the Yorubas have a very rich and interesting mythology. They believe that there is one overarching energy of creation, which is called Olodumare. They don't see Olodumare as some person like an old man on a throne or anything like that. Olodumare is just the intelligent energy of creation overarching everything. But because Olodumare doesn't have time to be communicating with humans, there are intermediaries. And those intermediaries are called orishas. There are 400 of them that we know of. There may be more. They're an interesting creation. So they're something like saints in the Catholic Church. They're people who who lived lives in ancient times and after their deaths ascended to divinity. But as well as being that, they are also the energies of nature at the same time. So Oshun was a beautiful woman who had powerful lovers in ancient Africa, but she's also the river. She's the fresh water. She's both of those things at the same time. The other thing about the orishas is they are all inside of us as well. And so the work of the ceremonies is to balance the energies within us, because we have one that dominates, and they call that our head. So we want to be sure that we are able to use all the energies to deal with the world in a skillful way. So each orisha has its own color, its own rhythm, its own song, its own dance. Has the favorite offerings that it likes. And we use all of these things to embody the energy of that archetype, because each orisha is a different archetype. And at different times of our lives, we may need to bring different orishas forward to help us and to balance our energy. So this is what we use the drumming, the dancing, the ceremonies to do, to give us access to the skill of all of the different archetypes. Well, so a ceremony could be to a particular archetype. You're going to honor that archetype to bring it into your life. But the ceremony has its own protocol. And one thing that's important is that the first orisha that's always honored in every ceremony, no matter what orisha the ceremony is dedicated to, is the orisha Eshu, who is also known as Elegwa or Elegba. So Eshu is the trickster. The trickster lives behind our head, and he pushes us into making mistakes. He whispers in our ear and tries to persuade us to make bad decisions. He directs us to self-sabotage. So how do we deal with this little guy who's back here getting us into all kinds of trouble? We ask him to come out in front. And when he comes out in front, where we can see him, we can look at him, and we can honor him with offerings, with dance, with rhythm, then he transforms and he becomes our messenger to all the other orishas. He's then the one who goes, instead of going behind us and pushing us into trouble, he goes in front of us, and he opens the path, clears the path, and introduces us to the orishas that can help us. Well, what is Eshu really? Well, when you see an image of him, Eshu is, he has goat horns, he has hooves. So the early Christian missionaries in Africa thought that he was the devil. And so they were very frightened by this. You can understand that they misunderstood what was going on with Eshu. To them, it looked like Satan worship. But in fact, in Ifa and all of the indigenous religions, they don't have the concept of the devil. The devil only really exists in the Judeo-Christian traditions. So the indigenous traditions didn't even know what they were talking about when they were talking about the devil. And most of these traditions don't really have the concept of evil either. I mean, they have the concept of imbalance, out of balance, or losing the sense of who you are, that you need to get back. But this good, evil idea doesn't really exist. So he has horns, he has hooves. His favorite colors are black and red. And you can see my altar I've made to him back here, a black candle and a red candle. He likes hard liquor, whiskey. He will drink red wine, but he prefers the hard stuff. I have some gin for him there. He likes tobacco, and particularly cigars. He likes hot chili. I have the red chilies back there. In Africa, they have a dried chili. It's probably cayenne. They call it alligator pepper, but it's like the little red seeds of cayenne. That will often be on the altar for him. He likes the things that are strong. So we have all that set up here to invoke his energy today. Sometimes he's called Elegua. When he's called Elegua, in Cuba, it's Elegua. In Africa, it's Elegba. This is Eshu for a community. So it could be an Eshu of a family, Eshu of a city, or Eshu of a country. So I think today in the world, we're seeing a lot of Elegba pushing countries into trouble, into making mistakes, into self-sabotaging. And so perhaps today we can broaden our intention to not only get our own personal issue in front of our face where we can see them, but also for some of the countries in the world, perhaps this would be helpful as well. So what is Eshu really? Eshu really is our own, what Jung would call our shadow. Eshu could be anything we don't want the world to know about us, anything we're hiding. It could be an addiction. It could be something we perceive as a weakness. It could be things from our childhood that are affecting us now. It could be repressed emotions that we haven't processed. Whatever it is we're hiding, that we don't want the world to see, this is our Eshu. This is the thing that when we don't own it, when we don't acknowledge it, when we don't process it, it causes us to self-sabotage. That's why this work is so important. Bring it out in front, take a good look at it, honor the benefits and the lessons we have learned from it. And then we go forward. Then it leads us forward. So in the protocol of the ceremony, which these would be big events with a lot of people, they're probably at night. They might go on all night long. And there's going to be a lot of dancing, a lot of drumming, a lot of singing, a lot of fun, actually. And the vibration gets very, very high. But to start with, before we open the ceremony at all, we need to make our ceremonial space, our dancing ground, sacred. And so how do we do this? Well, the shaman, who is also a fabulous drummer and singer, leads us in that. It's a call and response song with a dance, and it's particularly appropriate for us today because we are the IAM symposium, because the response is I am in the Yoruba language. So the shaman, the dancing ground is empty. All the participants are going to enter during this song in procession. So the shaman is at one of the entrances and he calls out, Ajaja. This is a question to the universe. Are there any spirits here? And all of us, we all answer, Emilo, I am here. I am spirit. So then after an introduction, the drumming will start and the dancers dance in unison in a sort of march from the four directions, bringing in the four directions, and ultimately end up in a circle in the middle of the dancing ground. I'm going to play some of this music for you. I have it a recording by my teacher, Oba, from Nigeria. And I encourage you to dance because remember those little molecules that are what we are made of? Well, now is when we bring them back into balance by chanting, by moving, by listening to the drumming. The march into the dancing ground has a certain step, which you can follow or not. It's up to you. In any of these, the important thing is that you're moving. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to follow the instructions, but just in case you're interested and would like to know, each dancer has a big bamboo pole, and this represents a walking stick of a wise elder. And in unison, the poles hit the ground at the same time as you take a step forward with the opposite foot. And then as you step with the other foot, you lift your opposite hand up. So in unison, this is very powerful because you get the bang of all the sticks together on the ground at the same time and everyone moving together in the four lines coming in and then moving in the circle. It has a rather long introduction before the dance part starts, and I encourage you to sing the response. So the shaman Oben is singing the Ajaja, and you sing E Milo, and you'll hear it. Just sing along, and when the drumming comes in, move. I don't have a lot of room to move here, and I don't want to be off camera, so I'm going to kind of just stay in one place and do it. But I encourage you to move around your space and make it sacred with this rhythm and with your movement. So here we go for making our space sacred with Ajaja. Okay, here we go. You'll hear him in the introduction first.
Ajaja, 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 Oh, yo. Baba, Baba. Oh, love you, Baba. Shika. Ajaja. Oh, ajaja. 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 Oh, Dios, Papa, Papa, oh, Dios, Papa, chica, Ajaja, Milo, Ajaja, Milo, Ajaja, Milo, Ajaja, Milo, Ajaja, Milo, Ajaja, Milo, ọ̀nà mi ò bàbá ràbà ọ̀nà mi ò bàbá jìgẹ́ àjàjà 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 ọ̀nà mi ò bàbá ràbà ọ̀nà mi ò bàbá jìgẹ́ àjàjà àjàjà èèpèlò àjàjà 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 no.
Getting us a little dancing going this morning. That's great.
That's right. Get that heart beating, get that dancing ground sacred. And now we're ready to start the ceremony. And the first thing up is going to be Eshu. So you have all brought offerings to give to Eshu and other offerings for the other orisha that we're going to honor at some point in the long night of dancing. But for Eshu, you brought a bottle of whiskey, or you brought a big cigar, or you brought hot peppers from your garden. Another symbol of Eshu is he's often shown with a staff that's crooked like a shepherd's staff. And that he uses for keeping us all in line, right? Hooking us back into his control. And then in some ceremonies, and I'm sure this really freaked out those Christian missionaries who were the first ones there, is that he has a staff that has an erect phallus carved of wood on top. Because what gets us into trouble more than sex? So a lot of times in the Eshu ceremony, after the introductory parts of it, the dancing gets quite wild. It gets quite sexy, because this is part of the energy of Eshu as we're bringing him out and really looking at him and honoring him. So it's like, if you have repressed sexuality, this is the time to express it and let that energy flow in a safe space, so that it's something that's not behind your head, pushing you into some kind of self-sabotage. One little cautionary note before we start Eshu ceremony is that sometimes when we would do this work and the person who had commissioned the ceremony for themselves, we call the shaman back 2 weeks later after the ceremony and say, what happened? I did this ceremony to make my life better. And then as soon as it was over, I got fired from my job and my girlfriend broke up with me and my car broke down. And what kind of ceremony was this? And the shaman's answer is, you did a ceremony to Eshu. Anything in your life that was not working is going to end. This is like Renee was saying about the wind coming through, the wind of new beginnings, blowing everything down. That old stuff that's not working, the old stuff that's pushing you into making mistakes and self-sabotage and bad decisions, that's got to go. And it's going to go right after the ceremony. So think about it. And that relationship you're hanging on to because you're afraid if you break up, you might not find somebody else, it's going to end itself. That job that you really want to quit, but you haven't because you need the money, you're probably going to get laid off. This is like powerful stuff. We're invoking in an energy to like help us clean out what we've been holding back here that's only doing us harm, taking a good look at it. And then the path is open. Then we're moving forward to the energy of the other orishas. So we'll start now. So these offerings you've brought in the first part of the song, it's rather a long introduction by the shaman, the Babalawo. And during this part, we would all go up and put the offerings we've brought on the altar, because he's made an altar way bigger than this. It might have some kind of figure of Eshu with his goat horns and his hooves and his shepherd's crook or erect phallus. And red and black cloth all around, and a probably very dramatic altar. And so during the first introductory part of it, we go up and we place our offerings on this altar to show Eshu that we honor him. And then you hear the music start. We could still be in the circle that we ended in when we finished Ajaja. And if we were, the move is that we shape one fist into the center of the circle and one to the outside of the circle, all facing the same direction, and the circle's turning as we do that. And that's at the beginning, and then it will break into free dancing and rather wild free dancing after that. So you'll hear it, also the tempo picks up toward the end. So you don't have to do that step unless you feel like doing that step. The important thing is during the invocation, the long chant where we're placing offerings, your meditation is, what are these things I'm hiding that I need to take a good look at? What is it that I have repressed that I need to put in front of my face and express? And like taking your own inventory of the things you want to move out in front of you and honor, and then move your body, like shake up the energy, like really get it going. And
Marsha, just double check your sharing your sound, because the last time it was a little choppy. So go into the share screen.
The share screen, okay.
And make sure up that the advanced sharing option that you're go to the open that, and then make sure you hit share sound.
Okay, mono or stereo? It's on mono.
No, just hit the green arrow up on the share on the share screen,
Yeah.
and then just go share sound. There's a little box in the left hand corner on the bottom.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Okay.
Whoops. Okay. Here we go.
Marsha, we're seeing your screen, not you.
Oh, okay. Wait, how do I
So-
fix
Èṣù
Sounds better though.
it? Okay.
So stop sharing your screen. Up on the top says
Oh, okay. Stop video. Stop new share.
stop sharing screen. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right, now try the sound again. Let's just so we get it good. Perfect.
Okay. Here we go.
Èṣù síwájú kó má mà kẹ́yìn o, ẹlẹ́gbà síwájú kó má mà kẹ́yìn o, ẹlẹ́gbàrà kí má mà kẹ́yìn awo o. Èṣù síwájú kó má mà kẹ́yìn o, ẹlẹ́gbà síwájú o, kó má mà kẹ́yìn awo, ẹlẹ́gbàrà má mà kẹ́yìn awo o. Èṣù bá síwájú kó má mà kẹ́yìn o, ẹlẹ́gbà síwájú o, kó má mà kẹ́yìn awo, ẹlẹ́gbàrà má mà kẹ́yìn awo. Èṣù síwájú kó má mà kẹ́yìn o, ẹlẹ́gbà ò bá síwájú o, kó má mà kẹ́yìn awo, ẹlẹ́gbàrà má mà kẹ́yìn awo. Èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó ṣe, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó, onílé oríta ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó, onílé oríta ọmọ ẹlòmíì, onílé oríta tìdí rẹpẹtẹ ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ojú, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ojú, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ojú, èṣù má ṣe wáṣẹ́ ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní, onílé oríta ọmọ ẹlòmíì, onílé oríta fìdí rẹpẹtẹ ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ojú, abínilé ṣù. Eshu, abinile Eshu, Eshu, abinile, Eshu níṣe mí Eshu, abinile, Eshu oníṣe Eshu, abinile Eshu, Eshu, abinile Eshu, oní Eshu, Eshu, abinile Eshu. Èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní òde, òkè má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní òde, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì, onílé oríta ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní òde, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní òde, èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní onílé oríta ọmọ ẹlòmíì onílé oríta bìdí rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ṣe ìlànà ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní èṣù má ṣe wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì onílé oríta ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní onílé oríta bìdí rẹpẹtẹ ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní èṣù àbí nílò èṣù èṣù àbí nílé 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 èṣù. Eshu, abinile Eshu, Eshu, abinile Eshu, Unije Eshu, abinile Eshu, Unitimi Eshu, abinile Eshu, Eshu, abinile Eshu, Eshu mate wa ọmọ ẹlòmíì ni o, Eshu mate wa ọmọ ẹlòmíì ni o, Eshu mate wa ọmọ ẹlòmíì ni, onílé oríta ọmọ ẹlòmíì. Ilé oríta bìdí rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó èṣù mọ́tẹ̀já ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó èṣù má ti wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó èṣù má ti wá ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó èṣù oníṣe mí ọmọ ẹlòmíì ní ó ṣe.
So the translation of those lyrics is basically he's saying, don't push me, go in front of me and open the way. Don't push me, don't influence me to do bad things. Please come in front and open the way for me. So that then opens the ceremony, opens the way for working with other orishas. And I would point out that this is very ancient, probably 4,000, 5,000 years old at least. And it's quite similar to the work of the psychologist Carl Jung in the shadow work. And in fact, all of the orishas are like the archetypes that Jung talks about and uses in his work, and particularly Eshu, very much like Jung's shadow. So they understood quantum physics. They were way ahead of Carl Jung, and it's a much more embodied kind of practice than a very intellectual psychology. So, wowza, how smart were those Africans? And we can learn a lot from them. And my advice is always, just keep dancing. What do you think, Renee?
You had me smiling and dancing. I had to take a little video because I love you dancing. And, you know, it's a little hard to go all in when you're doing the production and checking, and but that had me going. So I just have to say, I'm in. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. That's just...
and so you can access this music if you want to do this at home, and I encourage you to do so. So it's on Spotify. Okay. So in my book, Honey in the River, that's about my experience with this African shaman, I have footnoted the places where I am writing about this music and these ceremonies. So if you are reading the book, you come to the footnote, you go to Spotify and go to the Honey in the River soundtrack. The footnote correlates with one of the tracks, and you can hear the music.
I love that. Yeah. Did Sharon Stroud introduce us?
Reverend? No, I think it was Valerie Eagleheart.
Oh, yeah. I knew it was we had a connection in the desert. I love Valerie. I'm gonna have to send her this and let her know. Every once in a while, I'll get an email from Valerie Eagleheart saying, keep up the good work. And, you know, she's up there in the high desert, and, you know, she has her annual corn dance.
Well, she does a few dances, the sun moon dance and the corn dance and a few things. She's a powerhouse.
She is a powerhouse. And if you're up in Joshua Tree, look her up. You can probably find her at, I don't know, is the store still there on high?
Oh yeah, the Rainbow Stew is her store.
The Rainbow Stew.
And then her center is the Rainbow's End.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so
She's been
yeah,
doing it for years, and we have the
I,
same American teacher, and that's how I know her.
uh, well, thank you so much for being here, and everyone check out her gifts and her offerings and all of that. And I'm thrilled that we're all here. I'm thrilled to dance with you all and to keep those fires going. I mean, look at my altar and listen about these crazy making winds. I went downstairs where I have another altar, which is part of my outdoor altar. Sure enough, things were strewn about down there. So there is some power going on here, and you just believe.
That's change, right? I mean, we have to get this old stuff cleared away.
Absolutely.
So that we can move forward in our incredible, unique light in the world. And in Sandra Ingerman's journey, where she's talking about visualize the world that you want, we'll be able to do that when we get all this other stuff back here
right
handled. So,
and her other big realization, if you haven't listened to Sandra's journey, it's really powerful, but she had a real big realization in the last few weeks that you had to believe, that you have to believe. We all talk magic, but we have to always believe that magic is real and magic can change everything. And I use the word magic, and it's got its bad its connotations. But the truth is, Marsha, you got the juice. It's clear. You go to the people who have the juice, and then things change. And every one of the presenters of this symposium has the juice, and that's why they're here. And one of the ways that they have made that long trail over the mountain is that they're here in service so that other people can heal. And to me, that's a big step forward, is when you can show up for other people in your life.
And my African teacher would say that it's not magic. None of this is magic. It's focused spiritual practice.
Oh, I love that.
And the focused spiritual practice of all these 1,300 people tending fire at the same time, that's quote magic. That's where the energy that can change things comes from, is that kind of focus, all in the same direction, everybody together.
That's right. And so, and I was saying yesterday, there was a lot of people trying to split it apart in a way like, oh, I'm not watching it there and I'm not watching it there. And it's like, yeah, that's part of the problem. We're going to watch it wherever it shows up, because I remember when I would go to the sweat lodge and I'd be waiting and waiting and waiting for the elder to come. And it happened when the elder arrived. You know what I mean? It was like my pacing did not help the ceremony go any faster. So no, remember that. We've been there.
And the right people are there. The people that are there are the right people.
Exactly.
What happens is what's supposed to happen.
Exactly.
When it's supposed to start.
And so be it. So there was, the wind gap is the right gap. So I trust that. And I want you to keep joining us. We have another presentation. We have presentations all day long on the hour until. And
you have John Lockley next, and I love him.
Oh, is that who's coming up next?
Yeah, he's also African teacher, but South Africa. So he's in a slightly different thing, but his story is amazing. He's
really amazing. And, I gave him a second look after Sandra said, one day, well, yeah, he's the real deal. And it was just like, it's kind of funny. It's just like, yeah, he's the real deal. And so we have the real deal, and stay with us. And we're so honored that you're here.
More drumming and chanting, and yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be here singing and chanting, and I'll probably pick up my drum and do a journey at some point. Just stay with us, because this is how we bring the light back to the planet.